The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. I am back. You are comfortably zoned with me, the Zig Zag Man, pushing on the doors of life, Mark Poe, in Alameda, California, right across the bay from San Francisco, across the moat from Oakland. And I'm the guy who's the luckiest SOB in the world. I get to talk on a regular basis to the most interesting people on the planet. And I'm not exaggerating. Today is absolutely no exception. With me is Matthew DiBiase.
Yep.
How are you, Matthew?
I'm pretty good, Ralph. I'm alive, man. And now a week ago, I was doubting whether I was going to be alive, but thank God I'm alive now.
Well, you're welcome. And let me say that Jerry Feitelberg was here to witness me hearing your story, and it's a harrowing one. When I first heard it, I was sweating. When you first sent a Facebook posting about it, I was perspiring. That's and that's something to be said about a story, and especially a true one. So, Jerry, let me hear your voice. Get a voice check.
Yeah, hi, Ralph. Thanks for having me on the program. And while Matthew was recounting his life-threatening episode, it made me think back to when I was a kid. I was working for my English teacher at Boston Latin School, had a boys' camp on Lake Winnipesaukee up in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And I was there one day, and one of the kids had to take back a boat back to Alton Bay that was rented or whatever. And we went out there and we got caught on a storm on Lake Winnipesaukee, and the two of us are in this boat and we're bobbing up and down, trying to make sure that we don't tip, because if we were tossed into the water, we would have been goners.
Yeah.
And
you didn't have life rafts in those days.
Yeah, no, we didn't have a life raft. We were just a small little dinghy. Yeah. And when we got to Alton Bay, and when we got into Alton Bay, there was for some reason the water was calm, and then we had to figure out how to walk back to camp. It was 7 miles from Alton Bay to the camp. Fortunately, someone picked us up and gave us a ride back. But that was just absolutely terrifying, that trip. I don't know how long we were on the water, an hour, whatever it was, but it was just something I would never want to do again.
Yeah. I'll
Matthew,
explain.
a week ago, you were going through the same horror and terror as Jerry described. What was your story? What state were you in, and what were the circumstances?
Okay, I'll explain to you and our listening audience. I went on vacation to the state of Maine. It was a multi-pronged project. I was going to visit some distant relatives of mine. I wanted to visit the state capital of Maine, which is in Augusta, and I wanted to climb the highest mountain in the state of Maine, which is Katahdin, also known as Baxter Peak. It is located in Baxter State Park in the upper northern region of the state. It's off exit, the nearest exit on I-95 is exit 244, so it's way, way up north there. And I was staying in the town of Millinocket, which is basically, everyone uses like a base camp to climb Katahdin. The altitude of the mountain is 5,267 feet, so it's 13 feet shy of a mile high. I tried to climb it 13 years ago via the conventional Appalachian Trail, but horrible. It was in October, but it was like, although 70 degrees at base camp, it was 20 degrees above the timberline. That was 13 years ago, and I was forced to turn back. This time, thank God the weather was decent. It was always good, decent, warm weather, although when I reached the summit, it was like fogged in and cloudy and fogged in, but it was never intolerable. And what it is the reason why I wanted to climb that highest mountain is that for the past 26 years, I have been a member of the High Pointers Club of America, which is a group of people, about several thousand strong, who are dedicated to the proposition of standing on the highest natural elevation in all 50 states of the Union. Before I climbed Catan, I had 39 high points to my credit, and I wanted to knock off Catan and make it number 40, which was always a lifelong goal and all that. And so exactly 1 week ago, I went for the summit by a different trail called the Abel Trail, which is literally going right dead center, right up the middle. And what happened to me is that it's after you clear the forest trail, you go through this very steep boulder field. It lasts about 0.8 of a mile. I mean, we're talking very large boulders, and it's kind of tricky. And as I was going up, there were like 2 or 3 times when I figured I just couldn't figure out a way to make my way up through those boulders. I mean, even though there's blue blazes that mark a trail, sometimes the blazes aren't really the way to go. Somehow, through the grace of God, I was able to get up over those boulders, make it to the top of the plateau, and it took me like an hour, 40 minutes just to go 0.8 of a mile up. Made it to the top of the plateau. It took me 1 hour to get to the summit because it's a very rocky trail. I mean, for most of it, you're picking your way through big embedded rocks on the trail. It's not totally just soft earth. It's just rock, and it really slows you down. I started at exactly 7 a.m. from the base camp. I reached the summit at exactly 11:45 a.m. And what happened is that my problem was I had enough physical energy to get all the way to the top, but I failed to properly conserve enough physical energy to get off the mountain. Even though I spent 1 hour atop the summit there, resting my legs and all that, I started my descent at 12:45 p.m. And it took me a little bit, to get down that boulder field, and it took forever because going down is tougher than going up. I mean, I did it literally at a snail's pace. Finally, I got down off the boulder field, and then I'm going through those switchbacks, and the thing is, the physical effort was just taxing me. I mean, also, I brought 5 liters of water with me, and it was insufficient. And also, I wasn't using Gatorade. It was just pure water, and I was losing electrolytes. And after I cleared the switchbacks, I'm still in the upper portions of the trail, about 2 miles from the safety of the parking lot and base camp, and literally my legs just start giving out on me. I mean, they start turning to spaghetti. And I'm just slowing down, going slower, I'm losing daylight. I mean, we're in the afternoon hours, it's like 5 o'clock, and the sunset is at 7, and I'm thinking, man, am I going to make it or not? And I mean, I have to sit there and rest because I'm just getting tired, so tired. And 3 sets of hikers asked me if I was okay, and finally I said, 3 sets of hikers said, notify the ranger camp. Tell them, can they send someone up to intercept me and escort me down off the mountain? So I did that 3 times, and then a park ranger, she was off duty. She actually lent me some Gatorade to keep me going, and then the last hiker who I asked to notify the ranger station, he gave me a portion of his water, and I'll never forget him. Real tan, dark-looking guy, almost like imagine if Jesus had coal black hair. He had a beard on, and he had a guitar with him. He had a friend with him, and guess what? He was hiking the trail in his bare feet.
Wow.
I mean, this is massive, sharp rocks, right, embedded in the earth, and he went up, he reached the summit and going down in his bare feet. How? And yet he's the one who actually got through to the ranger station because finally, darkness fell. Imagine being in a deep, dark woods. I mean, a real wilderness. We're not talking like a city park here. We're talking genuine wilderness where there's bears, squirrels, and a lot of flesh-eating bugs, man. I got so many bug bites on me, it ain't funny. I mean, and you're all alone, man. Everyone's passed you by. You are all alone in this trail, and you can hardly move. And I'm kind of almost crawling, sliding on my rear end, when it's level, I'm trying to walk, but I'm punch drunk with fatigue. My water's almost running out. And finally, between like 8:30 and 9 o'clock, this park ranger, this magnificent young lady named Lori Whitney, God bless her heart, she came up, she intercepted me, she took my vitals, she replenished my water, she gave me walking sticks, and for the next 2 hours, we just slowly, like turtles, made our way back to camp, because I had to do it almost one step at a time. And again, we're still dodging rocks and all that, and going down these little slopes here. And I'm terrified of falling, because if I fall, I don't want to break a limb, because those are big bloody rocks. And finally, and then one of her colleagues, his name is Ian McKnight, intercepted us, and he replenished our water supplies, and we went another mile, and then finally a guy named Bob, another park ranger, loaded us on the back of his pickup truck, and we drove all the way back to base camp. It was 11 p.m. when we finally reached the safety of base camp, and they took down all my information. I got their names because earlier today I sent a letter of thanks to their superiors at Baxter State Park, a letter of commendation and thanks, asking, can you please reward these fine young people, because if they were 25 or older, I'll eat my hat. They were like college-age kids, but you talk about professionalism. They were absolutely 24-karat pure gold professionalism, patient with me. Oh, man, I loved them. They were angels, absolute guardian angels. And it was just, basically, I was just dehydrated and my electrolytes ran out. I wasn't going to freeze because it was a warm night, and also I had a LL Bean trail jacket, and I had gloves and a cap, so I wasn't going to freeze to death. It was just thirst and exhaustion and all of that. It would have been a long, bloody night, but it was just, it's scary when you're alone in a dense forest like that, and you wonder, is someone going to come and get you? And I remember one time, I kind of quietly said out to God, I said, God, Lord, I don't want to die, and I wasn't terrified. I was just kind of more resigned to the situation. In other words, well, this is, if it's going to end here, this is how it's going to end. But I wasn't just sitting there doing nothing. I kept moving. I figured if I keep moving, they'll lessen the distance and time factor before any would-be rescue would come and get me. And luckily, I was rescued and all that. And when I got to the car, they said, are you capable of driving? I said, yeah. Once I got in that car, I could drive. I cranked up Led Zeppelin, and it was like 45 minutes to get back to town, and I hit that road, man. I was just blasting, man. Just hitting the road. There was no one on the road at all. I'm just ramming it, and making sure there ain't no deer or moose I'm hitting or anything like that. And luckily, I didn't see anything like that. And by midnight, I was back in town and back at my hotel, and I just hit that bathtub, and I just soaked for an hour, man. Yeah.
Wow. I have a question.
That's my story, man. That's it.
I have a question, Matthew. As you're coming down and it turned dark, did you have a flashlight with you or any sort of lighting to show you to go along the path, or were you just in the dark?
I had a flashlight, but also Lori brought with me those hiking miner's lamps. They strap it on your head. Yeah, and like that. She had one for herself. She gave me one for myself. And then Ian, when he came, he had one on himself. So we had illumination, plenty of illumination and all that. So, yeah, thank God I had a flashlight with me. Yeah. Yes.
So, Matthew, it's been a week. May I ask how your recovery is, not physically so much as mentally, how you've recovered?
Well, I think I'll tell you what. The morning after, when I was before I posted the Facebook post that scared everyone to death, there was a moment I'm sitting in my hotel room, and I kind of broke down a bit. In other words, yeah, man. You were looking at it, man. Staring at it right in the face, or some type of, something bad. And there was a moment of tears, and then, then I realized, hey, man, you beat it, man. You beat the thing. You cheated it, and everything. Now it's time to live again. And then I got my act together, and I went to the town library because my legs were so sore. I'm still, I'll be honest, I just, musculature, I was pulling things that I always get sore on a hike like that, and especially on the descent. You can't like Charlie horses in your thighs or stuff like that. Plus the fact that I lost electrolytes, there was a lot of muscle cramping. So for the first couple of days after the hike, I was walking like the Tin Man. And getting up and down from a chair is very painful and all that. Right now, I had a lot of bruising also on my legs. I still have some bruising on my right leg there. There's some swelling on my ankles and in my feet, but every day it keeps dying down. So I figure I'll be okay. Hopefully by next week I'll be able to, walk without limping, maybe even be able to run again. So I'm healing up. The body's healing mechanism is working properly. Just have to be patient, and just building up muscle tone, and being able to stretch again, and get that in shape. Mentally, I'm just kind of glad that I was able to bag the summit. That much is certain. If I hadn't bagged that summit, the idea of having to go back there again and do it again would have upset me greatly. So in a sense, I can semi-laugh at it, Ralph and Jerry. I can kind of laugh at it in a sense. And it's kind of like a lesson learned, but fortunately, I never have to do this again. I have one more high point which I can do, which is Hawaii, but it's not as risky as that. It's just, you dodged a bullet there, and you move on, you walk on, and now I think it's up to us now to focus on the even greater dangers posed by Donald Trump and all of that. I have my personal danger, but then the country. Yeah, I mean now the country's in danger, and that's why we're here tonight, to bear witness to this danger and to educate people and warn people that hey, there's terror coming, next year, and there's a lot of danger out there. There's a lot of dangerous people out there, and we got to bear witness to this, and we got to figure out ways to fight these people.
Well, the most important thing I was going to say, the most important thing we can do is urge people to register to vote, and then go out and vote blue.
Yeah.
And we have to make sure that the people who voted for Biden, the 81 million people who voted for Biden, we get another 10%, so we're close to 90 million people going out to vote to make sure Trump doesn't get back into office. Because if he does, he's already said he's planning retribution on all the people that he believes have done harm to him.
Yeah.
And I'm very pleased the way things are going in his indictments. On Monday he asked Judge Chutkan to recuse herself, and she's not going to do that. It's just a delaying tactic. The reason he did that is because he's terrified. He knows he's going to get convicted in D.C., and he wants her off because she's been punishing the J6 terrorists with heavy jail time.
Yeah.
And he's going to lose in all four of the cases. He's going to lose in the E. Jean Carroll case. He's going to lose more money. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, Rick.
Let me ask you guys a question. Is he going to lose all those things and still win the presidency? Is this a crazy world we live in, or what?
No, I think it's the power of the Donald Code. I mean, it's kind of like the Manson trial. I mean, all that evidence, and yet his family was still camped out there on that courthouse, singing his praises. And even today, there were people still worshiping Manson. I'm not surprised by it. I mean, they really believe in his madness. They believe in his retribution. They want to be part of that retribution. They really want to be the ones who execute his will. And that's the scary aspect of it, that there are willing foot soldiers, male and female, who really want to carry out this vengeance and really inflict pain and suffering upon innocent people. That's the truly frightening specter of this whole movement, that so many people believe. I mean, and they worship him, and they consider him their Christ. I mean, that's the thing. They really believe that he is their Christ, and they worship him as such, as a God.
He made a statement that's scary. He says, the more I'm indicted, the more popular I become, and the more money I raise.
Yeah, well, you see it. Yes, absolutely. I mean, and that's something I'm a little disappointed about the media about, because the thing is, they've been focusing on the trials and the charges and the indictments and all that, but the thing is, they have not really paid proper attention to what he's saying on the campaign trail about this retribution, because I have reviewed, going back, as my capacity as a historian, no other presidential candidate has ever overtly campaigned on a platform of retaliation and retribution against his personal and political enemies. Now, Nixon in '72. Okay, there is ample accounts of on election night when he blew out McGovern by winning 49 out of 50 states. And privately, he was raging. He talked about retaliation. Now that he's reelected, he was going to go after, his political enemies. He was going to go after the Washington Post and all the other newspapers like the New York Times that was exposing him for what he truly was. But that was done privately. Here is Trump. Nakedly, openly, proudly, vowing vengeance and retribution, and basically he was literally going to create a dictatorship, literally throw out the entire Constitution, basically create a Stalinistic form of government, just as one British historian said about Stalin, all power concentrated at the top, all power emanating from the Führer, and just basically using all available machinery to go after anyone and everyone who has the moral, spiritual, and intellectual courage to oppose him.
Well, what's happening? What's happening now is that the judge has told him to tone it down, and he's going after the prosecutors. He's going after the jurors or potential jurors. He's going after the judges and anybody. He's naming these people.
Yeah.
And his followers. There was one guy that was going to go to assassinate Biden, and he was taken out by the FBI, I think.
Yeah.
So there are people who will act on the prosecutors. He's gone after Jack Smith. He's gone after Alvin Bragg. Remember the picture of him holding a bat at Alvin Bragg's head. He's gone after Fonnie Willis. He's gone after all the judges that he perceives as doing him wrong. Yeah. And there are people out there who will take action, and there's plenty of guns around, and they'll figure out a way to find these people and cause them harm. I remember a couple of years ago, I think it was in New Jersey, some crazed guy went up to a judge's house, and when the person answered the door, it was the judge's son, and he was killed.
Yeah.
And I can tell you from my own personal, in my life, my older daughter was a prosecutor. It was deputy DA in L.A. County, and she was living in West L.A. in the Mar Vista area, and she was working in the Compton court, doing gangbangers and putting very vicious people away. She was doing murder cases. Well, they moved her back to a court that was fairly close to her home, and she said she got nervous for the first time. She didn't want to go to that court because it was if she was trying these people, and she'd be in a grocery store, someone might recognize her and do harm to her. So, fortunately, she gave up being a DDA. So now she's a judge up here in Contra Costa County. She was appointed to the bench by Governor Newsom a couple of years ago.
What I see about this situation is it's a race. Either we put the Donald and his hench people, because it's not just men, it's also hench, women too, that Susan Powell and all that, and those other women, in the January 6th case, either we put them behind bars or else they seize power and they eradicate us. It's literally a race against time. Who's going to get in first and who's going to get whom first? And literally that's what it is. And each day, we're running out of time here. We're running out of time because I saw that first Republican debate, and let me tell you something. There is no way they're going to oust him from his primacy. Even if he goes to jail, he's still going to win those primaries. I mean, it'll be insane and psychopathic, but no. I saw nothing. I mean, here's DeSantis, who's supposed to be the number 2 guy. He allowed Pence and Nikki Haley and that Ramaswamy to overshadow him in the debate, which you can't afford to do. I mean, I think the next big one is coming up in December at the Reagan Library, if I remember recalling correctly. But none of them are gaining any traction. And to be honest, besides Nikki Haley, none of them really distinguish themselves. I mean, here's Christine Hutchinson, who overtly campaigned against Trump, but whenever they a thing denouncing Trump, you talk about ice cold silence from the crowd, and even some hecklers too.
Yeah, some booze.
Yeah.
I heard some booze.
Yeah, and also that Ramaswamy, the fact he's getting cheers about, selling out the people of Ukraine, condemning the people of Taiwan, surrendering it to China. I mean, Taiwan's had like over 20 million people or something like that, and he's going to condemn them to slavery. And here's a question I'd like to ask him. Okay, you're going to condemn them to slavery. What about the people of South Korea? What about the people of Thailand? What about the people in the Baltic states? You're going to condemn them to slavery? Or Finland, or Poland, or any of those Eastern European states that are in the NATO alliance there? You're going to condemn them to slavery too? Because if you're going to condemn the Ukrainians, why stop there, right?
Right.
Oh, exactly.
And he got cheers. And they were cheering him.
And a lot of the. Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask about Amendment 14?
Of the 14th Amendment, Article 3. Let's discuss that.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah, Article 3 says that if you are involved in an insurrection or rebellion or gave aid and comfort, aided and abetted the perpetrators, you're not eligible to run and if you took an oath to an oath of office, you're not eligible to run again. And so that's going to be tested in Colorado. The Secretary of State may not put Trump's name on the ballot, and so that they will probably appeal that, and they'll probably go to the Supreme Court. But the 14th Amendment has never been tested in current times. It was done as a remedy for the Confederates,
right?
So that the Confederates would not run for office after the Civil War. But so it's over 100 years since it's been used. But he took an oath as President of the United States to preserve and protect the Constitution and uphold the laws of the country, and he didn't do that. And he was aiding and abetting the terrorists that were attacking the Capitol that day. So he's guilty of that. And we all saw it with our own eyes.
Right.
And so if they do apply it, I think, and I would hope that the Supreme Court would uphold the 14th Amendment. You don't have to be convicted of anything. You just have to, it's just there. And it doesn't have to be enforced by any agent. It's just that the secretaries of state don't put his name on the ballots.
Now, to add to Jerry's point, it's not just Colorado. If I recall reading correctly, I think there are movements in like key battleground states like Wisconsin, Michigan. I forget if Pennsylvania's trying for it too, but I've heard this. There are groups, anti-Trump groups, that are trying to mobilize, about legal petitions to the key secretaries of state to invoke the 14th Amendment and remove them from the ballot. But here's another interesting incident. In New Hampshire, some Trumpite podcaster made out a false podcast saying, they're doing it. They're taking his name off the ballot in New Hampshire, and a whole mob of Trump vigilantes tried to storm, I think, was it the state office to quote unquote prevent that from happening. But it was fake. There was no one was doing any such thing, but it was a fake rumor and all that. But the fact that you have these vigilantes gathering together and trying to stop such a thing from happening is, again, highly significant when you consider it. Let's say it really does happen, like, Wisconsin succeeds, Colorado succeeds. I mean, there is a successful legal case where you can remove them from the ballot. What do we anticipate in terms of a reaction from these vigilantes if such a thing can take place? Hope, really, which I hope really does happen and all that. That's going to be a very fascinating question in terms of can the legal challenges succeed, and can they remove them from the ballot, and then what do Trump's vigilantes do in response?
Okay, guys, I have another fascinating question. two in a row. Can Biden, faced with the baggage of Hunter Biden and age and dementia or whatever, can he survive an election with a man who is generating this much support?
You go first, Jerry.
Yeah, well, yes, Biden can do it. Biden beat him once, and that was before all of this stuff came out. So, yes, Biden can do it. I think that there are a lot of people in the country who have been turned off by Trump's antics. They do not want to lose their democracy, and Trump will do that as soon as he gets into office, if he should ever get in the office again. So the Hunter Biden will have to pay for his indiscretions. If he paid his taxes back, he has the gun charge. I don't know if they can work out a plea deal as soon as they can. What the Republicans are doing with this impeachment inquiry is totally bogus. And Kevin McCarthy was out of line yesterday or Monday. I think it was yesterday when he announced that there was going to be an impeachment inquiry. And the Office of Legal Counsel, at Trump's insistence in 2020, wrote an opinion that said you can't have a impeachment inquiry without a vote of the Congress. That has to be done first, and they cannot issue subpoenas until that is done. So right now, McCarthy's impeachment inquiry is non-existent. If they issue subpoenas without the vote, no one has to pay attention to them. So that's one thing. And they do not have a shred of evidence that Joe Biden was involved in taking bribes or anything along with Hunter Biden. The whole thing is a smokescreen. You have Kushner, Jared Kushner, 6 months after he left the White House, and he was a government official, gets $3 billion, $2 billion from the Saudis and $1 billion from the Qataris, to form a venture capital firm in which he has no experience. I think he's making $25 million a year in salary, and no one's screaming about that. But that's that was pay for play. That was a payoff to the Saudis for Trump not going after Mohammed bin Salman for murdering Khashoggi in 2018.
Yeah. My sense of Biden, what he's going through is this. I mean, the only thing you can establish is that Hunter Biden was basically a drunken and drug-addled fool who made some very stupid decisions and all that. The question is, did President Biden ever ask, urge his son to commit a criminal act? I mean, that's the thing. You had this Trump-appointed special prosecutor who was done like 5 years ago. He had 5 years to do an investigation. All he could come up with was that plea deal, that initial plea deal that later got thrown out, a gun charge. I mean, that's all he could come up with. And this is a Trump-appointed special prosecutor, not a Biden-appointed one, a Trump-appointed one. And that's all he could find after 5 years. You think he would have found something truly significant? Now, the thing is, the judge threw out the plea deal, and then, of course, they have to start all over again. But again, where is the tie-in where you have President Biden actually asking his son to commit an illegal act? I mean, where is that? I mean, Hunter Biden is basically acting like a stupid fool, but where is the tie-in where the president is asking his son to, is urging a criminal act? And there's nothing there. Now, the Republicans are flogging the incapacity issue. And, I mean, in the first Republican debate, Nikki Haley was flogging it. I think DeSantis was flogging it. I forget someone else was. No. I do not see dementia in any way, shape, or form. Just because President Biden has a speech impediment does not connotate dementia or incapacity. I have looked at his decisions. The only thing I can score him on is the Afghanistan pullout. That was badly handled, but everything else, let me put it this way, fellas. If I were in Biden's shoes, I still would have made the exact same decisions, pretty much, give or take. I can't see anything that has suggested incapacity. Now, if Biden starts having moments like Mitch McConnell, those two brain freeze moments, in those press conferences, then maybe you can postulate incapacity. But right now, no, absolutely not. I do not see incapacity or dementia in any way, shape, or form. No, I'm convinced of it.
Do you see incapacity and dementia in the podcast host?
No, you're beautiful, Ralph, man, and I love you, man.
Okay.
5 years of friendship, and I love you, man. I do.
I want you guys to be the first to tell me, though. Love you guys both.
I was holding back, Ralph.
I appreciate it. We'll have a long talk over lunch.
Yeah.
And Jerry, Matthew, this has been a terrific podcast.
Yes.
Let's do it on a more regular basis.
Got it, baby.
And I don't use the expression often, but thank God you made it, my friend.
I know, and I know you guys were all with me in spirit, and that's why I was able to make it, because I could feel your vibes. I could feel your love. And I love each and everyone who sent their best wishes and all that. I send all the love in the world. And I want to thank again Lori Whitney at Baxter State Park, Ian McKnight at Baxter State Park, Bob who drove the truck, and also young Katie who gave me some of her Gatorade. They all work at Baxter State Park. May God bless and keep you always. I love you all, and I love the world, okay? And let's stay alive.
Hopefully, Matthew will come out to California, and Ralph and I will give you a tour of Alameda, and we'll let you climb the highest peak in Alameda. You
got it, baby. You got it. Love you all, okay? Love you both, man.
Okay. Thank you for listening, everybody. Jerry Feitelberg, Matthew DiBiase were guests. I'm Ralph Tycho. Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm proud of my producing.
We're proud of you, too.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening, everybody. Adios and happy trails.
Happy trails.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned Network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.